In a small town nestled in the heart of the USA, there was a young boy named Tyler Jenkins. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Raised by a single mother, Maria, who worked tirelessly as a nurse, Tyler saw firsthand the struggles of living paycheck to paycheck. The faint echoes of exhaustion were etched into her face after every shift. Yet, despite everything, she always managed to keep the lights on, food on the table, and the house filled with love. Tyler admired his mother, not just for her resilience, but for the way she made sure he always felt supported. However, deep within Tyler, there was a burning desire for more than the life that was unfolding before him. He didn't want to be stuck, living just to survive. No, Tyler dreamed of success, of becoming someone who could make a difference, not only for himself, but for his mother too. He wanted to take her out of the grinding life she'd been living. He wanted to give her a future where she didn't have to work herself to the bone. But there was one problem: Tyler's friends. They were a close-knit group, bonded by years of friendship, basketball games, and late-night video game marathons. Every time Tyler brought up his dreams of success, of building a life beyond their small town, they laughed it off. "Come on, man, chill out," his best friend, Kevin, would say, rolling his eyes. "You're trying to be some big shot? We got everything we need right here. Just play ball, let's hit the arcade, and leave all that nonsense behind." Tyler would feel the sting of their dismissive words, but he couldn't shake the dreams that danced in his mind. He saw the world as a place full of opportunities. He saw a future where he could escape the cycle of poverty and give his mother the life she deserved. But every time he spoke about it, his friends pulled him back. "This is not just a story. It's an inspiration to today's world." Tyler's voice echoes through time, an unwavering message for young boys everywhere. For those of you out there with dreams of becoming better, don't listen to those who try to discourage you. Chase that dream God gave you, and surely the universe will favor you. And for those watching, as you follow along with my journey, tell us in the comments section, how did you overcome peer pressure? How did you rise above your circumstances and make something of yourself? But Tyler's dream wasn't without its challenges. He was about to face a betrayal that would change his life forever. Tyler had always trusted his friends. They were the ones who stood by him when things were tough. But as his ambitions grew, so did the distance between them. His dreams were no longer in line with their vision of life. They wanted the status quo. Tyler wanted something greater. One day, Tyler found himself in a moment of trust. His friends had invited him out for a serious conversation. Thinking they'd finally come around to his way of thinking, Tyler eagerly showed up. But what awaited him was far from what he expected. Kevin, Mark, and Jake, his childhood friends, had set him up. They knew how much Tyler wanted to break free from the small-town life. So they decided to make him look like a criminal. They had planted evidence in his bag and made it seem like he had stolen money from the local convenience store. It was a devastating blow to Tyler's character, and to make matters worse, they made sure to tell everyone in town. Tyler's mother, Maria, was shattered. The community she loved turned their backs on her, whispering rumors about her son. They made her life a living hell. Friends turned into strangers, and the town that had once felt like home now felt suffocating. The whispers grew louder until they became an unrelenting storm of accusations. "How could you raise a son like that?" they would say. "He's no better than a thief around here." Maria stood by her son, her heart breaking as she saw the damage done to him. She didn't believe Tyler could have done such a thing. "I know my son," she said, her voice thick with pain. "He didn't do it." But the pressure was mounting. The betrayal from his closest friends weighed heavily on him. Tyler knew, deep down, that he had to separate himself from the people who had once been his pillars of support. And so, he made the painful decision. He cut ties with Kevin, Mark, and Jake. This was not just about friendship anymore. It was about his future. And, as much as he hated it, he had to leave the life that had kept him stagnant for so long. Maria, though devastated, knew that her son's path was no longer here. They had to leave. And so, with heavy hearts, they packed their bags and moved to a new community. Things became harder. They lived in a smaller apartment. Maria had to quit her job due to the toxic atmosphere, and Tyler struggled to adjust to his new life. Tyler, feeling the weight of everything that had happened, turned to his mother one evening. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't do it. Please believe me," he said, tears welling in his eyes. Maria looked at her son, her heart heavy but filled with the understanding only a mother could have. "I believe you," she said softly. "But now, you have to prove to yourself what you're capable of." Tyler didn't waste any more time. He knew what he had to do. He spent long hours in his room, devouring books about technology, trading, and personal growth. It wasn't easy. There were days when he doubted himself, when the weight of the world seemed too much to bear. But he kept going. In between learning, Tyler got a job as a cleaner at a local gym. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him the stability he needed. And in the quiet hours of the night, when no one was watching, Tyler would secretly lift weights. He was building not just his physical strength, but his mental resilience. His job at the gym didn't pay much, but Tyler was strategic. He divided his earnings. Half went to his mother to support the bills, and the other half went into his self-education fund. Tyler knew that every dollar spent on his learning was an investment in his future. A few years later, Tyler's hard work began to pay off. He had started a tech company, using the skills he had learned during the quiet nights of studying. His company grew steadily, and soon he had a team working alongside him, trading in the financial markets. The dream he had held onto, despite the betrayal, was finally becoming a reality. Tyler lived the life he had always dreamed of. He was no longer bound by the expectations of his old life. He had built something for himself. And best of all, he was able to give back to his mother, who had always believed in him, even when no one else did. Tyler Jenkins had long since overcome the darkest moments of his life, the betrayal, the lies, the judgment. But as time passed, something remarkable began to happen. Tyler's name started to spread, not just in his new town, but across the world. It began with a local news story, a small segment about a young man who had built a tech empire from nothing. But soon, his story spread like wildfire. The media loved the story of a boy who had been betrayed by his closest friends, labeled a thief, and cast out by his own community, only to rise above it all and succeed in ways no one had expected. Tyler had become a symbol of perseverance, a role model to anyone who had ever been told they couldn't make it. The articles piled up. Radio shows wanted to interview him. Podcasts reached out to feature his journey. Social media platforms buzzed with admiration for the young entrepreneur who had turned adversity into opportunity. Tyler's tech company had grown to the point where he was employing dozens of people. What began as a small project, building websites, trading in Forex, and offering tech consulting, had now expanded into a full-blown digital solutions company. He was living the life he had dreamed of, but he wasn't content with just his success. Tyler wasn't just building his empire. He was living his dream. He had driven past the sleek, expensive cars for years, wishing he could be someone who could afford such luxuries. But now, as he sat in the driver's seat of his McLaren 720S, a car he had once only seen in magazines and dreamed about, it felt surreal. The engine purred beneath him, a low hum that resonated with the hard work, sweat, and sacrifice it had taken to get there. He drove through the winding streets, his fingers lightly gripping the leather steering wheel, the city skyline in front of him as the sun set in the distance. Every turn he made felt like a victory, a testament to how far he had come. His house, too, reflected the life he had worked so hard to create. It was a sprawling mansion with modern architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows that let in the light, and a view of the city that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls were filled with art, pieces he'd collected during his travels. The open concept layout made it feel like a home meant for entertaining. Yet there was an undeniable sense of peace, of personal space. His favorite part? The rooftop deck where he would sit at night, looking out over the city, sipping a drink in quiet reflection. It was a symbol of his journey from the boy who was once rejected to the man who had built something extraordinary. But as much as Tyler had moved on from his past, something lingered in the back of his mind. He had achieved so much, but part of him still wondered about the three people who had once meant everything to him: Kevin, Mark, and Jake. The friends he had trusted, only to be betrayed in the most cruel way possible. His mind often wandered to them, wondering what they were doing now, what their lives had become. Part of him wished things had turned out differently, but another part of him was glad to have left them behind, to have built something on his own. And then, one day, Tyler received a message. It was an ordinary Tuesday when Tyler got the text. It was from Kevin, one of his old friends. At first, Tyler hesitated. He hadn't heard from Kevin or the others in years. His mind immediately raced. Why were they reaching out now, after everything that happened? But curiosity got the better of him, and Tyler opened the message. Hey Tyler, it's Kevin. I know it's been a long time, but we were wondering if you'd be up for a casual meetup, just to catch up. No hard feelings, man. Let us know. The message caught Tyler off guard. It had been years since they'd spoken, and the memories of their betrayal still stung. But after everything he had been through, he wasn't the same person anymore. He had built an empire on his own, and he had learned the importance of forgiveness, even if that didn't mean he had to welcome those who wronged him back into his life. He thought about it for a moment, then replied, All right, let's meet. The meeting was set for a small cafe in the city, a neutral spot where Tyler had often gone to get away from the business and enjoy some peace. He arrived early, just as he used to, sitting by the window with a cup of coffee, the weight of the past in his mind, but also a sense of calm. He had come so far, and in this moment, he was in control of his life, of his story. When Kevin, Mark, and Jake arrived, they were different. Older, more mature, perhaps, but there was a hesitation in their steps, an air of uncertainty. They sat down with Tyler, and for a moment, there was an uncomfortable silence between them. Tyler, Kevin said, breaking the silence, I don't know how to start this. We've thought a lot about everything that happened, and we wanted to reach out just to apologize. Tyler looked at them, his expression unreadable. His heart didn't race, it didn't ache. He was just curious now. You guys have been on my mind, he said, his voice calm. I wonder what happened to you. Mark leaned forward, his hands clasped. We were wrong, man. We know that now. We never thought it would escalate like it did. We never meant for you to be blamed, for your life to spiral the way it did. But we were immature, selfish, and we hurt you. Jake, usually the quiet one, added, It was wrong of us. We were jealous of your ambition, of your dreams. We didn't understand what you were trying to do, and instead of supporting you, we pulled you down. And for that, we're sorry. Tyler felt a rush of emotions. His mind flashed back to the pain, to the humiliation of being cast out by his friends, his community, his own mother's disappointment. But he also felt something else, peace. The forgiveness he had given himself, the strength he had found in moving on, all of that was suddenly bubbling to the surface. I forgave you guys a long time ago, Tyler said, his voice steady. But it's not about forgiveness. It's about what came after. What I achieved, what I became, wouldn't have happened if I'd stayed around you guys, letting your doubts hold me back. And I wouldn't change that for anything. The three men sat quietly, absorbing his words. Kevin, Mark, and Jake had clearly come to terms with their own guilt, but there was something that lingered between them. Regret? Yes, but also a desire to make things right. We've been trying, Tyler. Mark said, his voice sincere. We've been working on ourselves. We realize that we've been living in the past and that we need to do better. We're trying to find our own path now, like you did. Tyler nodded. Good for you. That's all you can do. It was a bittersweet moment. Tyler realized how far he had come, how much he had grown since the days when these three friends had been the center of his world. His success wasn't just about the business he had built. It was about who he had become, the person who had chosen to rise above, to grow, even when it seemed impossible. As the meeting came to a close, Tyler felt a sense of closure. He forgave them, but that didn't mean he would let them back into his life the way they once were. The friends he had known, the ones who had once been part of his everyday, could never be the same again. They had changed, and so had he. They had their own journeys to go on now, and Tyler was on his own path. Look, I'm glad you guys reached out, and I hope you continue on your own journeys, Tyler said, standing up to leave. But I'm not going back to how things were. I've built something. I've built a community, a foundation, and that's where I'm focused now. The three men nodded, understanding. As Tyler walked out of the cafe and into the city streets, he couldn't help but smile. He had done it. He had taken the pain, the betrayal, the loneliness, and turned it into something beautiful. A thriving business, a foundation that would change lives, and a sense of inner peace that no one could ever take away. Tyler Jenkins, once a rejected boy from a small town, was now the leader of a community. And this was just the beginning. So, how did you overcome your own struggles? How did you rise above the challenges life threw your way? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and share how you've turned your pain into purpose. And don't forget to follow for more stories of resilience and redemption.